You're in trial in a lawsuit for defamation, and you don't know what the defamation is? It is rare that we go look at a trial that has passed, especially so recently passed. This is only due to the request of the law nerds. Emily, what happened? Well, I heard about this case back when it was filed, and I went, that seems odd. Afroman, you might know from the 2000 song Because I Got High. March 13th, 2023, Afroman gets sued by what's got to be like half of the Adams County Sheriff's Department. And this case has been significantly pared down since it was filed. This was an extensive complaint that alleged everything from unauthorized use of an individual's persona to defamation, to invasion of privacy, misappropriation, et cetera, et cetera. This gets pared down substantially when it gets to trial to essentially defamation and false light defamation. We're going to do some of the witnesses. We are going to do openings, closings, and key testimony.
Now, I'm going to ask you to come back with me to the summer of 2022. Adams County, here in West Union, here in this courthouse, the sheriff's office downstairs. There's a group of deputy sheriffs, several of them. A lot of them were raised here in Adams County, lived almost all their lives here.
And?
A lot of them have had their whole law enforcement careers here in Adams County. Some of them left Adams County for a while, but came back home here to be with the people that they know and know them.
Just like you, jurors. They're
Some of them
here.
could have gone to the city, to Cincinnati
neighbors.
or Columbus or somewhere else and made more money, but they stayed here in Adams County to be law enforcement officers. 7 of those deputy sheriffs are here today. There's Randy Walters there on the left, Mike Eastep beside him,
plaintiffs,
Lisa Phillips beside him, Shawn Grooms beside him, Justin Cooley beside him.
Those are all the plaintiffs.
Detective Brian Newland beside him, and Shawn Cooley, Justin's father, beside him. What brought them together was some information that Brian Newland came across in the summer of 2022.
Information, you say?
Some information that caused him to have to do something. So he typed up a search warrant and he took it to a local judge. The local judge looked at it, approved it, signed the search warrant, and Detective Newland started gathering deputy sheriffs to help execute this search warrant. And it was a search of defendant Foreman's property out on Russellville Road here in Adams County. With evidence to show, first of all, none of these deputies had any idea when they woke up that morning that they were going to be executing a search warrant. None of them had any idea that by doing their duties that day, their lives would be turned upside down. That evening, they approached the premises, spread out the way they had it planned. They knocked on the door, no answer. Tried the doors, doors were locked, doors were secured. They ended up gaining entry with a battering ram, had to knock the door down. Again, that's procedure that happens in executing warrants when that's the way you need to get in. Nobody was home. Nobody was home.
I don't know if that's true.
Mr. Foreman wasn't home. He was away in Chicago doing a show. The deputies searched the house.
Did they get home in the
They
middle?
found a small amount of marijuana. They found a significant amount of cash. They seized the marijuana. They seized the cash. That's what they do.
I mean, it's not
And that was
always
pretty
what
much
they
it.
do, depending on what the warrant was for. We'll see if the defense addresses what the warrant was for.
No evidence of a major crime was found. And so what happened was, after a while, the local sheriff ordered that decided there's not going to be any charges filed here, and so he ordered
He decided there weren't going to be charges because there was nothing to charge him with.
Cash to be returned. It was over $4,000 total cash. Shortly after the cash was returned to Mr. Foreman, he began claiming on the internet and every place he could that the sheriff's deputies had stolen $400 from his money, hadn't returned it. You're going to hear the evidence about that, and we're going to demonstrate to you that that's not true and that he knew it wasn't true. There was an independent investigation done by Claremont County, but that didn't keep him from continuing to declare that Brian Newland in particular
$400 wasn't returned,
and the rest of these deputies are thieves. Okay, that's just the beginning of it. He went beyond calling these deputies thieves.
Yes, he called them all
As I've indicated to you, he called Brian Newland up, not called him, he posted it, published it all over the internet in various posts. People in the community started making comments to Detective Newland. Things soured out. He couldn't stand working here anymore. He resigned his job from the Adams County Sheriff's Department and went to Cincinnati and now works for the Norwood Police Department. He commutes, drives every day because he felt like he can't work here anymore. Reputation, pain and suffering, humiliation, personal embarrassment, loss of reputation, all that stuff. You're going to have to put a value on it. And I will tell you this, as I said earlier, I'll try to help give some guidance. You can reject it or not, because it's your choice.
It is their choice.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to be asking you for a number for all these people that is in the 7 figures. That's how serious we take this.
This case is about the freedom of speech protections contained within the First Amendment of the United States and the Ohio Constitution.
Okay. This case is an exception to the don't talk about the Constitution unless you don't have any facts. We have found the exception. When your defense is predicated on the First Amendment, you have to start with the Constitution. Here is the exception.
It is about an American citizen's right to make public comments about the actions of public officials, actions that took place in his own home, actions that took place within his home were part of his artistic, creative expressions. Officers from the Adams County Sheriff's Office, 7 of the 10, descended upon Mr. Foreman's residence.
It might
with
be
a
that
hastily prepared search warrant.
10 executed the warrant. That's fair.
For a man who's famous for a song that said, "I got high."
No.
The amount of force used.
He said, "Because I got high."
Was excessive, to say the least.
Right.
After all, based on the song, a bag of Doritos would have been enough to take him out. But they deemed it necessary to not only go to his residence with assault rifles, body armor, and even a riot shield to execute their search warrant.
It loses its punch when you have to go back to the podium,
a
though.
destructive search of Mr. Foreman's residence. Deputies searched Mr. Foreman's home, every one of his outbuildings, behind the couch, under the hood of a car.
What were they looking for?
And you know what they found? A couple little joints, which, let's face it, because I got high, that was expected. And then they found cash. His cash, not theirs. His. Now, what precipitated next is the primary focus of the lawsuit. Mr. Foreman did what he's done through his entire career. He took his life experiences and turned them into music, social commentary, and artistic expression. After all, one only need to look at the song, Because I Got High. The lyrics are there. I was going to clean my room because I got high.
I was
He
going to
was rapping about his life then,
I got
and
high.
his posts are talking about his life and his experiences. During the search of Mr. Foreman's home, deputies' actions during the search was captured in 2 places. 1, the security system of Mr. Foreman. Joe's security system was active until they cut it. You also have body camera footage. Now, we don't have body camera footage for all 10. Not everybody was wearing body camera. But the officers that did, there is body cam footage. And he used this footage from both those locations to make his music videos. He posts them on social media like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and even TikTok.
Right.
The plaintiffs decided they did not like what Joe had to say about him, or how they portrayed him, or how he used the footage of their behavior as their job as law enforcement officers, as public officials. Their response was to sue him in order to silence his freedom of speech, threaten his livelihood. After all, have you ever heard of a law enforcement officer suing a person for making a social commentary on them? Or have you ever heard of an officer suing anybody because someone said they didn't like what they had to say?
Or
officers deal with it all the time.
said that they looked like...
I dealt with it during my election. You don't sue people. You respect the freedom of this country and move on. Because, let's face it, if we don't have freedom of speech, what else is there? Before we get to the evidence, I want you to understand this case started with a number of claims. Of them, 2 were dismissed by the court.
Do not go there. Do not go there. You know and I know. Jury doesn't need to know what's not there. I'm not hiding the ball.
What?
Claims filter out.
What? That was the judge, like, from the bench saying, none shall pass. You cannot mention things in your opening that aren't going to be in evidence. However, doing it in front of the jury is wild.
The evidence will indicate that Mr. Foreman created songs with titles like Will You Repair My Door? Lemon Pound Cake. These songs went viral, yes. People connected with the message and understood what Joe was trying to say. The videos and songs resonated with the public because they addressed something that people care deeply about as Americans, and that is how law enforcement officers conduct themselves.
Yeah, fair.
Joe also made statements on social media about the search and the officers involved. Some of these statements were openly critical and expressed Joe's opinions about what happened. Statements about missing money. And he used some strong language, some exaggerated language. We call it hyperbolic language.
Hyperbole, I was
to
going to say.
present his message and his opinion. But all these statements were a matter of public concern as well as statements about his personal opinions. The experience of law enforcement officers executing a destructive search warrant is well beyond question, as it is a matter of public concern. Ladies and gentlemen, upon the examination of the evidence at the end of this trial, I'm confident you'll conclude that Joe did nothing wrong. While the plaintiffs are unhappy, upset with what was said, he exercised a right he had, a right that every American has. He commented on matters of public concern. He created art. He did what any stand-up citizen would do. He made his voice heard to the people. At the end of this trial, I'm going to ask you to return a verdict in favor of Mr. Foreman on every one of their claims. I'll ask that you vindicate his First Amendment rights. And I'll ask that you send a message to the American people that you can criticize public officials and that we are not living in a dictatorship where if you don't like what is said, you just sue someone to shut them up. Thank you.
Were you present when Mr. Foreman picked up the cash that had been seized?
No.
Do you know whether any press was invited to attend the return of this cash?
I learned that there was later.
Okay, but you weren't there.
So,
Can you tell us what happened when the money was returned to Mr. Foreman?
Your Honor, I would object to that. He's already testified he wasn't there.
Okay, let me rephrase
well
it.
played.
That's fair.
That is fair.
Was an allegation made that there was less cash than there should have been?
Yes.
And who made that allegation?
I believe Mr. Foreman.
How did you
been
learn about this
answered.
discrepancy?
The evidence technician that releases property had called me and told me that the account was short.
Tell us what you mean by that. The count was short.
Just that there was more money listed than what there was inside, and that was less.
We're watching the first witness in a defamation trial. And in opening, you said, aside from here, kitty, kitty, that they called the cops thieves and said that money went missing. And now you have the dude on the stand saying, I counted the money, we put it into evidence, and then when they went to return the money to the defendant, the evidence tech said the count was short.
Tell us what you mean by that. The count was short.
Just that there was more money listed than what there was inside, and that was less money was returned than what was indicated.
And where
Less money was returned than what was indicated. Right.
was this amount indicated?
On the bag.
On evidence bag?
Correct.
So I'm understanding you correctly. The amount of money that was indicated on the evidence bag was more than what was actually returned to Mr. Foreman.
Correct.
All right. And were you able to account for that discrepancy?
I wasn't, no.
What happened?
Once
He said I wasn't. Were you able to account for the discrepancy? I wasn't. No. Then why are you asking?
the allegation was made, the sheriff contacted Claremont County Sheriff's Office to conduct an independent investigation.
Do you know
Well,
whether
that's good.
an independent investigation was conducted by the Claremont County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And do you know the results of that investigation?
They were to determine that I miscounted the money
hearsay.
during my original count.
Baby making Brian newborn Newland. Yeah, the serial statutory with the brother fired from the People's Police Station. Will you stop sending Dick Pig Williams?
You were a Hamilton County deputy sheriff. Sorry, I said that earlier. You were an Adams County deputy sheriff, and
Counsel.
you're not anymore?
Correct.
Why?
I ended up leaving the sheriff's office just because of this.
Explain to us just a little more about why that was so upsetting that you actually left your job.
He didn't lose his job. He left his job.
Because the sheriff's office, so I'm from Adams County, is where all my family and friends are from. The sheriff's office was my dream job, my position. I was friends with everybody, and it was where I planned to stay. It's been my career. I dedicated a lot of time, over 10 years, to Adams County. You know, whether it was calling at 1 o'clock in the morning or working 14 hours, I dedicated a lot of my time to Adams County, and I loved working at the sheriff's office. But it just got to be so much. If you go to a call or take a phone call or you make a traffic stop, something said. You go to Walmart, something said. I stopped going to my kids' games for a little bit because every time I would show up, everybody would be looking at me or something would be said to me, and just spared their embarrassment.
You mentioned you have some brothers. Do you have a brother that worked in law enforcement?
Yes,
Was he the chief of People's
he was.
Police? Why did he leave?
He was the chief of police?
Why did your brother leave the People's Police Department?
He was charged with some kind of crime through the Adams County Prosecutor's Office. He was subsequently convicted, and he resigned or quit sometime during the process.
And it is a fair statement to say it involved minor children?
I really don't know anything about the investigation.
Your brother was chief of police, and you're like, I have no idea. I have no idea what this was. I have no idea.
He resigned or quit sometime during the process.
And it is a fair statement to say it involved minor children?
I really don't know anything about the investigation.
You don't know anything about your brother's crime he was charged with?
Just what I've seen on Jail Tracker in the past.
So you're not close to your brother?
I'm not, no.
Okay. Are you close to your family then?
Yeah, most of my family.
Then why not your brother who's in law enforcement?
Well, we were both in the Army at the same time, separate parts of the world. We kind of got close again, and then once this, his issues happened, we kind of just drifted apart again.
When you interviewed for the Norwood Police Department, they never held anything Mr. Foreman said against you?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Would it be fair to say it did not affect your professional career then?
Oh, it absolutely did.
How so?
Even if I move locations from Adams County to Cincinnati or to Los Angeles, people still ask me what it's about. People still ask me if I'm a thief.
But the people you work with do not ask that, correct?
They don't ask me, I know.
When you were interviewed, your future employer never asked you that question.
No.
So then when you say it damaged your reputation, you're only referring to people in the public, correct?
No. That's just what people in the public is what I know. And maybe people do have bias against me, in law enforcement. I don't know.
Okay.
But you were able to find another job. I think that being able to find another job indicates that it wasn't held against you in your field. Lawnard, I know you have been loving the Lawnard Shop, and me too. But what you might not know is that the Lawnard Shop started way back in the day when you guys were asking, can we get shirts? And I built it at like 3 a.m. on Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like the Lawnard Shop or Chamberlain Coffee and Rare Beauty. And when I said I built the Lawnard Shop at like 3 a.m., it's because they have hundreds of ready-to-use templates that make it really easy to design your shop so it doesn't feel like a template, but also you're not gonna mess anything up, which is always what I'm worried about when I'm doing things myself. And they have award-winning customer service there, just in case you're not sure. And Shopify integrates directly into social media selling. So when you click through to the Lawnard Shop on YouTube, that's all powered by Shopify. And they have the Shop Pay button that integrates into every shop, which as a shopper, I love. And I realize how many of the places I'm shopping are Shopify sites because I can just hit Shop Pay, it's getting right to me, and I absolutely love it. So Lawnard, to see less abandoned carts and more sales, now is the time for Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/Lawnard. Just head to shopify.com/Lawnard to start hearing this soon. That's shopify.com/Lawnard. Now let's get back to today's episode.
These posts that referred to you and the other deputies as thieves, has that affected your reputation in the community, do you believe?
Absolutely, there's no doubt it has.
Well, tell us what makes you think that.
To understand that, you got to go back before this happened. We would go on calls. You'd very seldom ever have any trouble with anybody. Very, very rarely. You might get a drunk that was smart off or something of this nature. Then he starts calling us thieves on the internet, starts selling merchandise with our photo on it. So now when you go into a bar for a call,
The environment that they were in, they are saying changed. I have questions about the shirts. I think the statute of limitations has passed on the shirts unless they're still being sold. But I have questions about the shirts. But that's not what's at issue here. What's at issue here is the defamation.
What makes you think that?
To understand that, you got to go back before this happened. We would go on calls. You'd very seldom ever have any trouble with anybody. Very, very rarely. You might get a drunk that was smart off or something of this nature. Then he starts calling us thieves on the internet, starts selling merchandise with our photo on it. So now when you go into a bar for a call, you've got people in there screaming, hey, you going to steal all of our money, or you go on a call. I had one guy come out of a bedroom after me, call me a thief and want to know why I sold Afroman's money. It just went from being a nice, quiet community, a job you felt safe in, to a place where you had to look over your shoulder every second.
So the only thing that you're saying painted you in a negative light is the general comments calling the Adams County Sheriff's Department thieves, correct?
No, calling me a thief.
So there is a specific post that calls you a thief.
There's photographs of me on it, and he's accusing all of us of being thieves. So that incorporates me as well.
So it refers.
Well, this is why in the direct examination, we didn't see any posts about what the defamation was to this plaintiff. There are 7 plaintiffs. This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
Refers to the Adams County Sheriff's Department as a group then, and you're part of that.
Just members of the Sheriff's Department, not the entire Sheriff's Office.
But it doesn't list your name.
Yeah, there's posts that list my name, I'm sure.
You're sure?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that there was some that had my name on it. I mean, I don't recall which ones, but
We haven't introduced any to evidence by your attorney. What posts are you referring to? I need a date and time.
I don't know. I'm just saying that there could be. I don't know.
There could be, but
You sued. You brought a lawsuit. You're in trial in a lawsuit for defamation, and you don't know what the defamation is? Here's where we're at in the middle of day 2 of the Afroman trial. I can understand why, after seeing clips of the trial, you were like, Emily, what is happening? There are causes of action here that I can't understand why anyone decided to bring. And I don't understand how a lawyer looking at this case went, yep, you're a plaintiff for defamation. There are 7 plaintiffs here. I do not understand the strategy of not narrowing down this case to some very specific posts or statements. But when we got into cross-examination of plaintiff Shawn Cooley, asking him about lemon pound cake and American pie, we thoroughly ended up in food court. And I just have to wonder if this places us back into the Cardi B case, where it seemed that part of the reason it was filed was to see if it would settle. Going to trial with all 7 of these plaintiffs seems to be a very large strategic error. I do not know what happened to the misappropriation of likeness claims regarding merch being sold with the different deputies' faces on it. I do have questions about that. I am curious what happened to those causes of action. And I will look, because now I want to know. We'll see if we can have answers. I'll go looking through the docket and see if I can come up with answers for you, because it seems to me that on some of these things, the use of likeness in merchandise might have been a stronger claim, but I don't know Ohio civil law well enough to tell you that definitively. What I do know is that when you have a plaintiff on the stand in a defamation case, and you are basing the defamation off of social media statements and posts, not showing a statement or post in the direct examination is a terrible plan. Because then you get to cross-examination, and on cross-examination, defense counsel's like, so what's the defamation though? Is it that you were called lemon pound cake? Because in the song, it didn't say you were a lemon pound cake. It said you looked at the pound cake and went yum yum. And then the song said that the pound cake looked so good that you wanted to put down your gun and get a slice of pound cake. So that's not the defamation. That's a hyperbolic recitation. You're in a defamation lawsuit as a public figure, and your cause of action is based on he probably called you something in a post that was never put into evidence connected to you during your testimony. So though I had hoped to finish trial in a day, you all know that I am incredibly time blind. And also, I did not appreciate how much there would be that was odd about this case. Because though I have seen clips of this case, of some of the testimony, I did not appreciate that, the judge would just kind of interject and be like, hey, so we're just having a full conversation in open court. I did not anticipate that the plaintiffs would not be able to articulate exactly what was defamatory to them. And I did not appreciate the mix of causes of action, because civil, that might be able to be navigated in a defamation case and those that absolutely can't, and combining it. And I think that bringing in the lemon pound cake video might actually undermine some of the rest or all of the rest of the case, because it's like trying to take text messages that aren't serious and make them serious. Juries do not like it when you play in their face. Juries do not appreciate it when you are telling them something is serious that is not serious. And when you try to look at, well, he vaguely alluded to me being a thief, that's not going to be enough for public figure defamation. And I don't think they've started to show reputational harm. They seem to be testifying about the emotional damage, but not the reputational harm. They're not suing for intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the Law Nerd app at lawnerd.app.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.